water, more electricity, more schools. But you will prioritize condoms first and etc., etc., etc. Number 7, drugs and devices of artificial methods of birth control actually increase the risk of diseases such as cancer among women according to the International Agency for Research on Cancer. So that includes breast cancer, cerebrovascular disease, myocardial infarction, pulmonary embolism. Dr. Villasin, an OB-GYN, explained why this is so. One of the modes of action of abortifacient drugs is to cause women to increase and thicken the production of the mucus to prevent the sperm from entering the system. And unfortunately, it does not only thicken the mucus but also the blood. That is why so many of the users suffer from stroke, because a side effect, according to Dr. Villasin, is heart, whatever, etc., etc. Okay. Here is the problem, especially if you are from Negros. Negros, according to Dr. Villasin and Dr. Cabalfin, Negros has the highest incidence of 3 kinds of cancer all over the Philippines. Breast cancer, another cancer and another cancer. Basta tatlo. Maglarga ni ang RH law, top notch sir na gidning negro sa cancer. Damo-damo na gidi makanser pagid sini tungod sini sang RH law sir. It will threaten, number 8, national economic and physical security of the nation. Ang RH law has an anti-biblical assumption that a large population is a curse or a disadvantage that must be corrected by the RH law. You know what? In the Bible, a large population is a blessing. It is not a curse. A large population is a king's glory, but without subjects, a prince is ruined. Proverbs 14:28. Okay. Do you know that China and Singapore and Japan are now a dying nation because they have exceeded this safe birth rate ratio? Ang bantayan nyo niya, after RH law, euthanasia will very soon follow. You know why? Because when there are no children, like China, one-child policy, the government of China is now discovering that the care of the senior citizens is very heavy on the national government coffers, and therefore, they have to adopt a policy of death with dignity. Wala man nagatipan sa tigulang, kay wala naman mga bata, kay way man ginpabata ang mga mag-asawa, kay tag-isa man lang. By law in China, amo man Singapore, amo man Japan, ti kun wala ka bata matipan sa imo, kag daw senile ka na, kundi makapatay ka gani bata, hapos na lang yung tigulang, hindi mapusulan patyon. Correct? Oh, amo ginaya. Oh. A large population is a king's glory. Indonesia and the Philippines are the 2 strongest performing economies in Southeast Asia precisely because of their population. You know, without RH law, we are going to approach the safe replacement level of 2.1 by the year 2025 without RH law. With RH law, it will be much faster. Now, here is a common sense appeal to you and to all of us. Muammar Gaddafi, before he was killed by the American special operatives, said that in less than 40 years, Islam will rule the world. He was asked by Time and Newsweek, are you going to use terrorist bombs or nuclear bombs or terrorist? And no need. Even just without firing a shot, how will Islam rule the world? By population. Because the West and the Christians are stupid. They don't want children. Muslims, you can have more wives and no to birth control. Why na gid niyan eh? Are you following? This is really crazy. So other similar laws are being prepared to follow the RH law once it passes. That is why it is called death laws. Divorce, euthanasia, abortion, total population control, eugenics, homosexual union, legalization of prostitution. There are moves to also legalize drugs. There are moves to legalize suicide. Under the right to die, I have the right to die. Because if I have the right to live, I have the right to die. Okay? So this is called the death laws. So, number 10, why are we against the RH law? It is actually a form of neo-imperialism, a new form of imperialism. Imposition of first world countries on third world or developing nations, according to Henry Kissinger, United States Security Council Memorandum. The safe population of the world should only be 500 million. We are now 7 billion. Dapat ang mga third world countries should not produce so many children. So, they impose RH law so that hindi kita magdamo. This is really very, very bad. So, in summary, the RH law surreptitiously, clandestinely, insidiously introduces in the corporate or body life of the Filipino community a culture of death, a culture of materialism, a culture of sexual liberalism. The victims of the RH law are human life, morality, faith, marriage, family, parental authority, authority of the church, the nation. As I come to the last part, very controversial, team patay, team buhay. Bishop Vicente Navarra, upon the suggestion of one of his priests, adopted the use of team buhay, team patay. Monsignor Vic Rivas reacted strongly. He said, I am against the RH law, but I don't want to be judgmental. I don't want to use team patay, team buhay. We are Christians, we should, etc., etc., etc. But if you listen to Bishop Navarra defend his decision to use the term team patay, this is how he explains. We must call a spade a spade. If Jesus called the Pharisees hypocrites and a brood of vipers and snakes, we must call the law what it is. Damo gid mapatay sa RH law. Ang bata patay, ang marriage patay, ang parental authority patay, morality patay. Amo na namin niya sang team patay. Oh. Galing kay Gary Akman ang iban nga, pao na ano man niya nga ka-judgmental. Okay, we will leave that to them, whether they will use that term or not. But as Christians, we understand that there is a danger here. Final thought, last 2 slides. When Satan first tempted Adam and Eve to sin, he did not use an outright evil. He presented an innocent, even good-intentioned thing, just to eat the fruit of a tree. It was not really murder, rape. It was just eating from the fruit of a tree. The RH law is very innocent. Reproductive health. Let's be responsible parents. Let's develop the population. It is good. It is good. But inside that forbidden fruit is death. Amo na siyang punto da. There is death in that law. In spite of all this flowery coating, etc., etc., there is hidden terrible violation of God's law. The destruction of human life, the breakdown of moral values, marriage, family, destruction of a nation's population. We must obey God rather than man. Acts 5:29. I will close with, I don't know if you are willing to accept this, but this is Catholic doctrine. According to their canon law and their catechism, they said, we might obey a bad law. We might submit to a stupid law. But we must fight an evil law. Ang ilang panawag siya, this is evil law. That is why you sense this movement of outbursts. And now I will close with this question. The attorney, RH law, that's already a law. Can we still do something about it? Number one, because we Christians were sleeping on the watch when this RH bill was debated. Wala kita opinion, wala man kita ga-research, wala man kita ga-check sa Bible. Nasyak lang kita nga may mga timpatay, timbuhay na ni. Ay, too late the hero. We are Johnny's come lately. Nakalusot na, naka-first base na. That is why, si Bishop Navarra, he wants to alert, kay basi, pwede pa ni mapunggan, wala pang implementing rules, kag wala pa na budgetan. If we can influence the election, so that malekturan, that's why he used strong language, even at the risk of sounding offensive and unchristian, because he wanted to send a message to the nation. Gusto siya mag-jolt sang nation. He is a 74-year-old man with less than 1 year left in his bishopric. Manog-retire na siya. He is being threatened with a criminal case for not cutting up his poster to just 2x3. And so many well-meaning citizens, including evangelical Christians, comment against the bishop. Na ano man nakatikalo niya, ahaw, i-cut up lang na 2x3 nga, hindi niya lang napagsundon. You know, this is where I have really come to appreciate even Roman Catholic thinking. He said that tarpaulin is not just a campaign material. It is, they call it this way, a catechetical material, and it is sacramental. Catechism, it is an instrument of teaching. Catechism. We are teaching the flock, defend life. That's what the tarpaulin stands for. That's why hindi siya mag-yield. Bisan piso nyo ko, filing nyo ko. Because there is a theological argument behind his mind. That is not a campaign material. Do not reduce me to a 2x3. I will defend my right to teach catechism. And he said it is sacramental. Sacrament. A sacrament is a sign. Like when you, according to him, how the Catholic explains, like when you make the sign of the cross, it's a sign of your faith. All other things are a sign. The tarpaulin is a sign, it's a simple sign that we are not for death, we are not for breakdown of marriage. Don't cut it up, don't cut up the sign. That's why we are offending feelings to call attention to the message. Karon i-cut up mo na, we will lose the message. So that's why, sa March 19, Supreme Court kami to explain. The Supreme Court has summoned the bishop to explain. Why are you not cutting up the poster? And the lawyers are already practicing because the Supreme Court issued a TRO to the COMELEC not to force your way to the cathedral and cut it up. And as a lawyer, I am really fascinated by the constitutional issues involved. Is it a campaign material or not? Will you accept that as a catechetical material which is within the right of the church, covered by the constitutional provision of freedom of expression and freedom of conscience? Amo nang grabe nga mga tahong-tahong issues, dira. Pero ako lang gid amo ni, as I close, I said this is probably the least spiritual subject matter ever discussed in the NIHAP. It is RH law. Please, my dear brethren in the Lord, pray, pray, pray nga ma-stop ini. Because we might have a Jeremiah 2:34 situation, the blood of the poor innocents on the skirt. And I believe that Satan has launched this attack because the Philippines is about to fulfill its destiny. Manog jubilee na ta, manog liberate na ta, ga-improve na ang aton nga standing in the international community, respected na kita, hindi na ta debtor country, ga-pahulam na ta sa Greece and Spain, outside of the list of debtors na ta. Grabe na ta, ang aton nga economy is very bullish, growth rate champion. We are slowly stepping into the fulfillment of God's plan for the Philippines to be a Christian nation, evangelizing nation, Israel nation. And here is Satan unleashing the infant killing machine through the RH law. coming from behind. Coming from behind. Amo na siya nga, this is really a matter for intercession and prophetic advocacy.